Hello everybody, it is Mike Poggione here at Motor City Scuba, and we are going to learn how to replace the long wrist strap on a G2 with bungee straps, which is a cool way to do it. Lots of divers like that. They don't want to have the extra wrist strap hanging there. And also the bungee strap has some advantages as it can kind of easily go over, like if you have a dry glove system on your suit and you got that big old ring there, it can kind of easily go over that, because if your bungee's set up like I'm going to show you, there's multiple ways to do it, but I'm going to show you one way I like to do it. You'll have a little loop here that you can kind of pull off the top of the computer, and all of a sudden you got a lot of extra slack in your bungee, so you can pull your hand out real easy. This is my computer here, so mine has a line cutter on it. We are not going to add that to Tim's. He doesn't want that, but I'll show you how we would add that if you wanted to. So let's get to it. Let's see if I can mess this up. So we got some tools that we're going to need. We're going to need a pin punch. Notice there's no hammers. If your name is Steve and you think this involves a hammer, stop watching this video, Steve, and put the hammer away. So we need a little pin punch. We're going to need a little pair of pliers, needle nose pliers, to pull the pins out once we've punched them, because unless you got really small fingers, you're going to need these to get the pins out. We need a pair of scissors and a lighter to kind of clean up the bungee and to cut the bungee in the first place, obviously. And of course we need bungee. Now I've already cut the piece. We'll talk about kind of what I base this on, but I've already cut a piece for us. So let's take the pins out. So the wrist straps are held in by a pin. When you look at the pin, look at each side. You'll notice one side is like a nice round circle metal, so that's the top of the pin. The other side is going to be tapered, and maybe you don't see it. The pin's kind of in the shadow. This one I just knocked out a little while ago, so when I was messing with this the first time, so it's like half out. But if you see a nice big round piece of metal, nice clear, even, that's the top of the pin. So we're not going to try to push that out. We're going to push from the other side. So you find the side that is, tapered, not a nice big flat piece of metal, push your punch in there and just push it out. So you can see I've pushed this out. Now I'm going to need these little pliers to kind of take it out the rest of the way, just because my fingers aren't small enough to get in there. And so now I can pull that pin out completely, and the strap comes off. I would put these aside. You may decide you want to put these back on later. There's no reason just to toss them. So just put these aside over here. Boop. And let's push this one out, which I already kind of have half pushed out, because guess what? This is not the first take, folks. What? So pull this pin out, that strap comes off. So push this in there, and then I put that in a little bag and keep that for later. All right. Cool. So one of the cool things about the SCUBAPRO G2 is it is already set up to add bungees. So it has bungee mounts built into it. You saw it. That's why I needed these little pliers to pull the pins off. So when I pushed the pin out, boop, the pin was kind of stuck between the actual receiver for the wrist strap and then this nice big hole. And so that hole is for the bungees. That's where we're going to put the bungee through. So let's talk about the bungee, or the shot cord if you want to sound cooler. This is going to go around your forearm, so you can measure. I find a nice rule of thumb is, if you're doing it for yourself, kind of loop it around your thumb and kind of pull it down to the inside of your elbow. That's going to be a nice starting point, probably be a little bit longer than you need. And then this is for Tim, so I don't know if it's going to work for him at all. But this is a nice starting point, and you can certainly, once you have it on there, you'll see how you can trim it off. Before I start weaving this through these two holes here, I'm going to add just a simple overhand knot into the middle of it. I'm not going to tie it super tight yet, but I'm going to put it in the middle. And what that's going to do is because this is just going to be one piece of bungee through here, that if we were to have something happen to this side, like it got cut or something, the other side's still looped in. So you're not going to have the whole computer just fall off of you. Also, it makes a nice spot to grab it when you're tightening it. So if you saw on mine, here's this little knot. When I put this on my arm, it's nice and loose. I can fit my arm through there. I then grab this and pull it over to tighten it. And so that knot kind of gives you a nice big handle. Well, it's not a big handle, it's a little knot, but it gives you a handle, gives you a place to grab to pull that over. So that's why we're adding that little knot. Once I have that knot added, I'm just going to feed the bungee through the hole. Doot, and doot, boom, nothing to it. Okay, and then we're almost done, but I got to show you something. We then would feed it back through here and tie 2 knots, but because that would be it. But I want to show you if you did want to get and add a line cutter to it. So there is a line cutter that comes, we have it at the store, in this piece of webbing. So it's just a piece of webbing sewn together, so you actually have 2 loops. You would just feed these through. Easier said than done when everything's, so you would just feed those through. See, this side's a little bit more open. Oh, like that, there we go. Okay, so you just feed that through and then that would be on there. But we're not gonna add that. Tim doesn't want that. If he watches this video later and goes, I did want that. Tough luck, Tim. It's already on there. Deal with it, buddy. All right. So we have that through there. So now we're going to take this and we're going to feed it through here. Okay. And then we're going to tie a knot here. Eventually, we are going to make this knot nice and snug and we're going to burn it. But for right now, we're just going to have a little tail hanging out. We want to make this knot nice and snug so it kind of fits right in there, nice and clean. So if you look at mine, you know, it's kind of tucked in there. You can hardly see it. But we want to have that sticking out so we can make adjustments. So we're going to then feed this one through, pull it out. And again, this is just a simple knot. We're going to pull them tight here before we're all done. And then cut them and then burn the end, kind of mushroom the end so the knot doesn't come undone. So we're done. This is pretty much set up. So Tim could take this and put this on his wrist, and then he could pull it to tighten it up. Boom. Now, if he needed to tighten it, he could pull these back out and tighten them. If he was satisfied with, yep, this is where I like it, which is why I'm going to leave it, he would cut these 2 little tails off. First, he'd make that knot nice and tight, cut those little 2 tails off, and then kind of burn that down, kind of mushroom, kind of lock that knot in. If he's wearing this with his dry suit, which I suspect he is, he might want these loops a bit bigger. This is more set for, you know, just my bare arm. But that's it. That's how you add bungees to a G2. It may make it super easy because they already have all the spots to mount them there. So not too hard. You don't need a lot of tools. I didn't really show you how we use the scissor and the lighter, but I think you could figure it out. I cut the webbing with the scissors, and then once I do a nice tight knot, so like a nice compact knot, then kind of just burn it a little bit, squish it down. Sometimes with bungee cord, it would probably work as well. You know, I was a terrible Boy Scout. I wasn't even a Boy Scout. I was a terrible Cub Scout, so tying knots isn't really my forte. So I'll put some super glue on the knot as well to kind of help make it a nice, good knot. But make the nice, snug knot, burn it, and you lock it in. And then if you do it right, you kind of make a nice, small enough knot that it fits right in between the receiver port for where the rubber strap would go and the cool, big bungees. So it's an easy, simple thing to add to your G2 to make it kind of customizable for you. So Tim's is all set up. He needs to make some final adjustments and cut it, but it's away you go. Cool. So if you're like, yeah, I watched that, Mike, and I have no idea what you were doing, you can bring it in or ask me more questions. But that's it. I'm done. Cool in the gang, duders.